Today, I will be sharing some simple hacks to turn Dollar Tree holiday items into high-end Christmas decor. You'll definitely love these easy transformations. For this DIY, I grabbed a couple of Dollar Tree's tabletop Christmas decor. I'll be using 2 for this project. So I just take them out of the box. It comes with a little stand, which is nice, and I fluff out the branches. Now these are really cute. I love that they have these, but no matter how much you fluff the branches on its own, it just looks really empty, but it is a great foundation though. So to make the tree look more full, I'm going to join 2 trees together using this wired garland tie from Dollar Tree to attach them together. So I just wrap those on the spaces in between the branches, which helps it look a little more full. But after looking at it, it looked a bit messy. It kind of just all blended together, so I decided to switch it out with these wired Canadian pine stems instead. These are from Hobby Lobby and they came in a pack of 20. I think it looked a lot better and more natural. Now the bristles have a very plastic artificial look, so a couple options. You can dab on some white paint to mimic snow. I love doing that, but for this one I'm going to add some gold instead. And I'll be using this metallic gold paint from Folk Art in the shade Pure Gold. And this will help soften that plasticky artificial shine. So I'm just using a little brush and I'm dabbing that gold all over the branches. Some areas a little more than others, varying the intensity. But I do want to make sure the gold hits every branch. So some areas I'm just lightly dabbing it and others I'm painting it on. I'm going to go over that Canadian pine in the center with some metallic espresso paint, very lightly, just to kind of mimic the trunk of a tree. Next, I'm going to take some more of that Canadian pine and I'm going to measure and cut them to the different lengths of the tree branches. Then I'm going to group 3 of them together, all different sizes, and then tie the ends with some floral wire and turning them into like little picks, which I'll be placing in the branches to give it more volume. So I'm just going to vary the size of the picks, keeping in mind how short the branches are on top. To match the gold of the tree, I'm going to do the same thing with the Canadian pine and dab on some of that metallic paint in the shade Pure Gold. I'm really loving how the gold looks on the pine. It really adds a nice dimension to it. Before placing them in the tree, I wanted the tree to stand upright first, and so I decided to use this little glass bowl with some white marble stones to add some weight and keep it from toppling. You can also use a little terracotta pot and some floral foam as well. So I'm going to start off by pouring some of the rocks in a cup. I thought it would be easier pouring it this way. I place the tree in the bowl and then I pour the rocks inside as well, surrounding the bottom of the tree, and this held it up pretty well. I'm going to wrap the bowl with some burlap. It's cut so that it's large enough just to cover the bowl. So I place the tree right on top in the center. And then I pull up the corners, bunching it just right under the branches, and then I just tie it together with some jute string. And then I adjust it, flipping down the corners like so. Next, I just pop in those little pine picks that I made, spreading them out until I like how it looks. Now, I really didn't want to add too much to the trees, just some berries here and there, but you can certainly fill it up with ornaments or string some beads all around. And this DIY is done. For this DIY, I grabbed a couple of Dollar Tree's Nutcracker soldiers. I grabbed one with a taller hat so that it looked like they were 2 different sizes. I'm going to paint these and add a little texture. So first I need to prime them with white spray paint. But before doing that, I need to remove the hair and the beard. Now the beard easily pops right out, but the hair on top of the head may need some tugging and cutting. One was definitely easier to remove than the other, but once you get that out, you're good to go. After spraying paint on them, I noticed that there was a gap or some spacing on the sides of the face, so I just added some spackle over that and then I smoothed it down. I'm going to paint them with some chalk paint from Waverly in the shade Sandstone. I'm also going to sprinkle a little bit of baking soda to thicken it up. And then I just brush on that paint mixture all over the soldiers. I do a couple of layers, but you know, I did also like how it looked with just one layer. You can still see some of that white underneath, and it gave it a bit of a rustic marble look. After I was done painting, I did like how it looked, but it was looking a little too matchy and I wanted a little contrast, so I decided to paint one in this celery color from Waverly Chalk Paint. So I just brushed the paint all over the shorter one. I didn't need to add any baking soda to the paint because there was already some texture from the previous layer. Now if you added too much baking soda and it's a bit too bumpy or rough, once it has completely dried, you can lightly sand over those areas with a fine grit sandpaper. I wanted to elevate the nutcracker, and so I had some blocks on hand that I thought would be perfect. And I just trimmed them to the size I wanted, one slightly taller than the other. I just paint them with the same paint that I use on the nutcrackers, sandstone, and celery. I add some hot glue on the bottom, and I place them on the wood blocks. And this adorable DIY is done. I bought this handbell at Dollar Tree. It rings nicely and I couldn't wait to give it a rustic Christmas makeover. I'm going to spray paint it black, and I'm using Rust-Oleum's paint and primer spray paint. I thought it looked really nice just plain black, and it still rang nicely, but I am going to continue on to give it that rustic makeover. I pulled out several of my favorite metallic paint that would give it that rustic finish that I wanted. I'm starting with Craftsmart's metallic paint in espresso, and I'm using a paper towel to apply the color, which I crumple, which will give it a rustic, worn out look. So I'm just lightly pouncing the paper towel on the different areas of the bell, including the handle. Now, I will say, I really love how this color looks. Honestly, you can just use this metallic paint on its own. It gives a beautiful, rustic, bronzy finish. But next up, I'll be adding this lighter metallic paint. This is titanium gold from Anita's. I believe I got this at Hobby Lobby. It was on clearance, so I'm really not sure if it's still around, but you can use other similar shades. But with that said, out of these three, this is probably the one I used the least amount of. And finally, I'm adding in Folk Arts Antique Gold, another beautiful color. So I just dab it onto various areas of the bell, alternating between the different paints until I'm satisfied with the appearance. It's a really easy, straightforward process, practically foolproof because the paper towel does most of the work for you. I also make sure to apply the paint on the inside of the bell. Wow, look how amazing this looks. What a transformation from that green bell. Now I do like it just like that. It makes a beautiful accent decor piece, but since it's Christmas, I thought I would add some holiday embellishments. I'll be using some things that I pulled out from a holiday bouquet and some jute twine. So I'm just gluing some berries onto the pine. And I'm just adding a little hot glue in the back of that to attach it onto the bell. It's not really a permanent hold. You can easily peel off that hot glue, which is nice because after Christmas, I'm definitely going to keep this gorgeous bell out. And then I'm just taking a little jute string and tying a little bow on top, which turned out really nice, but of course I ended up switching it out with this beautiful lace ribbon from Dollar Tree. And we are done, and I just love how this turned out. For the next DIY, I'll be using this Christmas LED lantern. It's a little plastic lantern, but I do love the snowflake cutout. So first things first, I take off the lantern's top. It's not a simple pull, it is locked in there, but because it's plastic, you can gently stretch the sides a bit and it'll eventually pop out. I'm going to add a wooden top and bottom, so I'll be using a couple of these square wood planks from Dollar Tree. I still wanted to go a little bigger than these, so this is optional, but I'll also be using this wood plank board from Dollar Tree as well, and I'm going to cut it right in half. I'm going to add some color to the wood, and I'm just mixing territorial beige and khaki, thinned out with some water. I'm applying it with a little rag, wiping it on, and then wiping out the excess. For the smaller squares, I do a couple coats, adding a little more of that darker color on the second layer. I'm going to glue the cover on top of the wood, and I want it to lie flat, so I remove the tabs that are sticking out underneath the cover as well as on top of the lantern. I'll be gluing the smaller square on top of the larger, so I apply some hot glue on the back of the smaller square. I do a wood glue hot glue combo, and I attach that on top of the larger square. For the plastic top, I'll be using E6000, and I'm just going to apply the glue on that raised narrow edge. So I apply the glue, being extra careful and not putting too much because it is very narrow, and then I place that on top of one of the squares. Now there are some options for the base. Because there is a little battery operated light on the bottom, you can just place the lantern on top of the wood without gluing, and that way you can easily turn the light on or off. Or you can also just glue that base to the bottom and pop out that little plastic bulb. Instead, place a battery operated tea light candle right on top, and you can just lift up the lid to switch it on or off. And finally, I wrap some jute string around the top plastic ring. Now you can leave it as is or add some Christmas florals or greenery right on top. I just glued this beautiful Christmas pick from Hobby Lobby, and this DIY is all done. For the final DIY, I'll be using this pine garland wreath from Dollar Tree. And to give it a nice little update, I'm going to dab on some white chalk paint with a paintbrush to create a snowy effect. So the trick to make it look like snow naturally fell on top, I just vary the way I brush on the paint. Some areas I go heavy with the paint, and others I just lightly dab it on. I also grabbed this mini metal Christmas tree collar from Dollar Tree. I really love the red color. I'll also be using this wood round that have some beads along the edge from Dollar Tree as well. And this is going to make the base of the Christmas centerpiece bolt that I'm going to make. So I placed a wreath on top of that. And on top of that, I placed the red metal collar, flipping it over so the wide side is up. You can embellish this however you want. I'm going to add some berries and just place them all around. I started off by trimming out some of the berries from this Dollar Tree berry bouquet. I thought it looked nice, but then I ended up changing my mind with the berries that I trimmed out, and I decided to use these berry picks from Hobby Lobby instead, and I just placed that all around the bottom. I wanted to add some of these LED pillar candles, and I thought it would look adorable to stack them on top of these wood slices, but whatever you put inside is going to look amazing, and I just love how this one turned out. Hey, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, will you please give it a thumbs up? Make sure to subscribe and click that notification bell so that you don't miss any of my new videos. Until next time, bye!